Welcome back. She's Oakland's 52nd mayor and the first black woman to hold the office. Mayor Barbara Lee is 100 days in, facing challenges from crime and safety to homelessness. She joins us live now. Thanks so much for being here, Mayor.
Glad to be with you. Glad to be back.
Yes, yeah. It's been a little while since our last interview when you were campaigning for the job.
Right.
Well, congratulations, of course, on securing the role and your first 100 days. How's it been going so far? Which of your priorities have you been able to move forward the fastest?
Well, you know, we had our 10-point plan for the first 100 days, and we've been able to check the list off on most all of them. A couple of things. Of course, public safety has been our biggest issue, and we've been able to increase the funding for the police department, for our Department of Violence Prevention, for ceasefire. We have 5 new academies. We're recruiting right now, and of course, challenging because many jurisdictions pay, for instance, $75,000 as a signing bonus. And our city we have challenges in our budget, but we're doing everything we can to bring the crime rate down. It's coming down, but we still have a lot of work to do. And so that's one accomplishment, I would say, that we're working on, but we are bringing the crime rate down, and we have put investments into our public safety strategies. Secondly, with regard to our unsheltered population, a big priority for myself and for the city is to make sure that we find a way to address homelessness. And so we've established a new office within the city administrator's office, which is a high-level position or office for the Department of Homelessness Solutions. And we're working to actually develop resources with the county and other funding sources to be able to reset our homelessness policies and programs, looking at anti-displacement, looking at shelters, looking at transitional housing, permanent housing, and how we build out a whole strategy for our unsheltered population, recognizing public safety is an issue, and we have to deal with this with the dignity in mind of the people who are living on the streets. And also, you talk about illegal dumping and trash. My gosh, you know, we've started Keep the Town Clean initiative with young people, paying them stipends, the faith community, our nonprofits, our city workers. Everyone's been phenomenal. We've collected over 30 tons of trash throughout the city, and I'm determined, Stephanie, that we're going to be the cleanest, safest, and greenest city in the country.
All right, so it sounds like it's been a very productive 100 days so far. So congratulations on those achievements that you've made. Do you want to touch on some national headlines real quick first before we dive into some of the local aspects here? As we know, the Trump administration has deployed the National Guard out to D.C. He's made the suggestion of doing the same to Oakland and San Francisco over issues that he's describing as, you know, crime issues, homelessness issues. What's your response to that?
Well, first, he trashed Oakland, and he doesn't know what he's talking about, and he's not telling the truth. Secondly, no one in Oakland knows Donald Trump like I do. Remember, I served with him when I was in Congress 4 years under Trump 1. And I was also on the Appropriations Committee where Project 2025, which he is acting out now, we were able to stop it because we had the majority in the House. Next, I was sitting on the House floor on January 6th. Few of us were there, and I saw how he sent those people in to thwart the peaceful transfer of power and try to establish a dictatorship. I was there. We barely made it out of the House. So I know this administration and their playbook very well. So having said that, we're going to keep doing our work in Oakland to make life better for everyone. But there is no way we're going to just allow him to lie on Oakland and what's taking place. And also, we're prepared if, in fact, he's going to decide, and we don't want him to do that, to send his military to Oakland to occupy Oakland, a military occupation. That's not going to happen unless, well, if he makes that decision, we're ready. We don't want him to, because we have our own public safety plan. What he should do and could do to help Oakland, like other cities, is help us with the proposals we put forward for violence prevention, for community policing. What in the world did he do in this big, ugly bill by taking away health care from our community clinics in Oakland? And people are going to, you know, suffer because they don't have health care. We need resources for housing and for job creation, for workforce development. We have the 8th largest, busiest port in the world, and here, the tariffs. What is he doing? I mean, he's destroying the lives of so many people, but in Oakland, all hands on deck. We're moving forward to make life better for everybody.
Now, would you ever request the National Guard be deployed yourself? Some of your residents have actually made this request. They want to up that police presence. They want to see more National Guard out in the downtown area. This is after a series of some pretty high-profile break-ins in downtown Chinatown.
They have their own perspective, okay? First of all, federal intervention in domestic policing is unlawful. It's unconstitutional. So no, I would not ask for that. You know, this is not an emergency. We have our police force. We're working with the California Highway Patrol. We have our public safety plan. And what the federal government should do, Donald Trump, is support us in our efforts. I would not ask for an occupation. And let me just tell you one more thing. What he's doing is trying to provoke chaos. We're not going to let that happen. He wants to create pandemonium. You know, our immigrant communities are terrified because of ICE and his position on deportations. We're circling the wagons. We're not going to let this happen with our immigrant communities. Young people are afraid to go to the doctors. Families are afraid. People are not going to work in our immigrant community because they're afraid they'll be picked up and deported by ICE. And so we as a city are working to try to make sure that we're coordinated with our immigrant groups and also to try to just help with some real practical needs.
All right, so turning the attention now to revitalization of the local economy. You know, I brought up the point of some businesses and local businesses expressing concern. You know, what's the plan to revitalize perhaps the downtown area and also the Hegenberger corridor, which has seen a lot of crime in past years?
Sure. We have our economic development plan. A lot of it has to do with public safety. And of course, we have our business development districts, improvement districts, excuse me. We need more lighting downtown, which we've been able to begin to provide as part of my 100-day plan. We need more activity, more activation with our artists and our young people, our cultural workers. We're working on that. We're bringing people back into downtown. We see a big difference. We have the North Lake Division Department and areas in Oakland where we're working with the groups to make sure people come out to restaurants. We're the top restaurant city in the country.
True. Yeah.
I mean, you know, and I spoke about Oakland at the DNC. I went Sunday night to Minneapolis. I spoke Monday morning and came back. But came back Monday evening, wanted to tell people in the country, come to Oakland, visit Oakland, come see what we're doing. We have a lot of work to do. We have to activate Jack London Square, right? We're working with the merchants now to figure out strategies to bring more businesses into Jack London. And so I want people to come to Oakland and see the glass half full, and also to see it's all hands on deck with our residents. We have a great workforce training department. Our city workers are working with us. We're reducing and eliminating these silos between the city council, the mayor's office, and our workers, our employees with the city government. So it's all hands on deck. It can't happen overnight, but we're raising money from philanthropy to make sure that we have resources for the summer youth job program, because so much of what we're dealing with in Oakland are young people with no jobs, and so we have to have jobs. We have to have strategies around AI, and so we're doing a lot on a lot of fronts in terms of economic development with our businesses, a small business community. We were able to get $3 million thanks to the Oakland Chamber of Commerce and our city council into the budget for a variety of support for our small businesses. And also we're actually reducing the time for permitting. We've been able to really make a big dent in the length of time that it took for people to get permits and businesses to get permits. So it's a big, comprehensive strategy we have to have with many different legs.
Of course. Now, Mayor, I do want to make sure we have enough time to talk about a big topic, which is public safety. You mentioned this earlier in our conversation here. There were some sideshows that happened recently. This is, of course, an ongoing issue for the city of Oakland. What specific policies are you working to implement to prevent more of these sideshows from taking place? How is your working relationship with the new chief?
Yeah, working relationship with the new chief and our police department is very good. Secondly, let me just tell you, as a resident and as the mayor, I'm pretty angry about this, these sideshows, the trauma and the fear and the possible, you know, violence, well, the violence that occurs as a result of that could end up in some serious injuries is unacceptable. So we've done a couple of things. First of all, I don't know if you know this, but in the prior budget, we didn't have the investment in the money for sideshow details. And so we're just now gearing up with the police department once again after a year or two being off. Secondly, 80% of people who come in of the sideshows are people who come into Oakland.
They're not Oakland residents.
They're not Oakland residents. And so we have a regional strategy. We've towed over 100 cars, cited them, police have made arrests, and so it's a really terrible situation, but we're working on it, making it better. Also, one part of that is the infrastructure. You know, when you have barriers and infrastructure on city streets, that prevents cars from coming in. And so it's towing, it's citing, it's trying to stop people from coming into Oakland, trying to have the police presence. Of course, we are still short-staffed with police, but it's all hands on deck. And believe you me, it's not turning our head the other way. It's like taking this on head on, and we're going to keep being very aggressive with trying to stop these sideshows, but also working with the community to try to figure out how to do the infrastructure to make it much more difficult for them to come into town to do this.
To your point, to the police understaffing, your police officers union has mentioned they're understaffed by 300 officers. How are you working with the chief to close the gap here?
Well, we have a voter mandate to get to 700 police officers, right? That was part of a measure that was passed in November. Also to work with our Department of Violence Prevention and Ceasefire. So a couple of things we're doing. One is we're helping with recruitment, because recruitment is very difficult. When you can go to other jurisdictions and get a $75,000 signing bonus, right? Our budget doesn't allow for that. Secondly, we have an issue with regard to recruitment and retention also, because other officers, for a lot of reasons, decide that they want to move on, where they could have a better life. The cost of living is pretty high still in Oakland. And so there are many, many economic issues that we're addressing, but also recruitment within Oakland. We're working now to try to recruit from different populations. For example, we have some great ambassadors. They're non-sworn security personnel. Why aren't we recruiting from them to go into the academies? And we actually funded 5 new academies. I was at one of the cadet events a couple of weeks ago, and these are some young men and women who reflect Oakland values, who really want to serve. This is going to take time. It's not going to happen overnight, but we're working very closely with the police union and with our police department to get to where we need to be, and that's 700. Now, do we need more than 700? Yes, but right now we're so short-staffed that our goal is 700, and then we move forward, and that's exactly, we're on track to get there.
Now I want to touch on a recent headline here, which is your 5-point homelessness plan. Now, this is something that I imagine is quite personal to you as someone who's also experienced homelessness herself. Walk us through perhaps just how soon we can see the tangible effects of this rollout.
It's not going to happen overnight, but let me tell you, it's all hands on deck already. I mean, we're looking at spaces in areas that are not sensitive areas for shelter, transitional housing, and we have to have the services. So part of this is, and we're working with the governor's office, Caltrans, the county, CHP, to have a coordinated effort so it can be a more expedited effort. So we can't say how quickly, but we can say that the strategy is a new strategy and it's coordinated, and we have to have the mental health services and the drug rehab. And in many encampments, unfortunately, you see drug dealing. And so we have to address that also. So it has many, many legs, but we're all hands on deck, and we're hitting it from a variety of ways.
Now, I want to touch on the topic of transparency and accountability. The last administration that Shane Tao, she was recalled by the voters, as we all know here. How are you working to build that sense of trust and transparency within your administration?
You know, we hit the ground running and have had over 1,500 residents engaged with myself through our listening sessions, and some people kind of joke about, oh, listening session. I'm saying, well, wait a minute. This is listening to people, engaging with people so that they can believe in their city government once again, and we take their ideas and put them into action. And so we're engaging with residents. We've had ceasefire teach-ins. A lot of people didn't know what our police department how our police department works, nor how it's integrated with the Department of Violence Prevention. So we've engaged with people around the city on that. So we're out in the community. Our Keep the Town Clean initiative with young people and with our clergy and with schools and with everyone. We're bringing people together to build that trust. You've got to be out there active with people to do that. Secondly, I've established the, the working group on charter reform. A lot of people don't know what the charter means and is and what it says. Well, we're specifically working with the League of Women Voters and SPUR to really look at good governance, what it means for elected officials, how government functions financially with our residents, and then thirdly, oversight and transparency, what we need to do to make the city government work and function better for people. And so we have to do this in a variety of ways because the distrust is in many cities with every elected official is there, but I think it's important that people know that this administration, my administration, we want to engage with people, we're listening to people, and we're acting. And that's the important part. And whether people voted for me or not doesn't even matter. I mean, I'm governing now, I'm the mayor. And so we've been everywhere in the city doing cleanups, working with park districts, working with fire mitigation efforts with our firefighters and the fire chief. We're in Deep East Oakland working on economic development in Deep East Oakland and the Fruitvale with our immigrant communities. We're working in Chinatown on crime and on housing and on health care. We're working in Rock Ridge and West Oakland and Montclair. You name it, Lakeview, the Lake area, Lake Merritt, Adams Point. We're everywhere, connecting with people, hoping people will really believe that we mean what we say. And my staff is phenomenal, and so are the city workers and our city administration.
Last quick question for you, if you could answer in about 20 seconds here, Mayor. What's the message for people out there as you look towards your next 100 days?
We're working to make Oakland the safest, cleanest, and greenest city in the country.
All right, you heard it from her here. Oakland Mayor Barbara Lee, thanks so much for your time this afternoon.
Nice being with you, Stephanie.
All right, we'll be right back.